Good afternoon. We're back in the beautiful paradise of St. Cloud, Florida. Yes, I'm still here, not for very long. This morning we had a gathering at Adam's parents' church, a small family-sized celebration of life for their church family and some friends. Kind of the last thing that I've been sticking around in Florida for. And then I've got to move on, and I'll tell you what the plan is and all that stuff a little later. If Adam had a hometown, it was definitely St. Cloud, Florida. That's where he's now laid to rest. And I'm not going to talk to you about saying goodbye to my friend in the cemetery or the day we laid him to rest. In fact, I'm not even there yet. It's tomorrow morning that I'm going to be saying my farewell, at least to his final resting place. Instead, I thought, since I'm here in St. Cloud, what I'd like to share with you is to tell you about how I met the friend that changed my life. Now, luckily, thanks to this morning's service or gathering or whatever you want to call it, I think I'm mostly all cried out for now. So I'm going to tell you this one final story and then kind of move on and talk about what comes next. Once upon a time, while I was still in the Scarred in my band, actually way before I was in the band, I had all kinds of filming location websites. One was a .com, most were like GeoCities or little like build your own website places. But the biggest one was my Back to the Future filming locations website, which eventually got its own .com, bttftour.com. What had happened was that there were a couple different guys who had put all the part 1 filming locations onto the internet. They were pretty frequently traveled, but nobody had ever got to part 2 and part 3. So I had begun this like crazy quest to find all of them. And I did manage to find so many of the spots and complete so much of the list. Eventually, people who had worked on the movie were sending me locations and all this stuff. Anyways, I'd get a few emails here and there, but mostly just like, hey, cool site, I went to the mall, thanks for posting the address or whatever. And one day, probably around 2007, somewhere in there, I started to notice I kept getting multiple emails from some guy named Adam. And I'm talking multiple emails, like anytime I'd change a paragraph or add a new photo or a new location, I'd be like, dude, da-da-da-da, get these emails from this guy, Adam Williams, out here in Florida, telling me about how one day he's gonna go to all the spots, dude, he's gonna check it out, I've gotta go with him, blah, 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 blah. He'd send me pictures and links to his Facebook account of just some filming locations he had found down here in St. Cloud, or just mostly pictures back then. Then one day, Adam being Adam, he did some Columbo-like research, because I didn't just have the website, I also had a blog spot and a Facebook page for it, and somehow, some other way, somewhere, there was some kind of link to the Back to the Future website and also to my band, The Scarred. And when Adam found that, he freaked out. Then I started getting a flood of emails. Dude, I'm in a punk rock band also. I've heard of your band. It's so awesome that you're signed. You guys are touring. You're doing it all. We want to do that one day, all this stuff. The guy would not leave me alone. And Adam being Adam, doing everything 110%, he would not quit until he had convinced me to bring my band to Florida to go on tour with his band. And we didn't have any money. In fact, it was like the worst possible timing. The record label we were on had gone under, half of my band had quit, I didn't have a bass player anymore, all this stuff. He would not take no for an answer and convinced his guitar player, Jeff, to go to his work, this energy drink company called DNA Energy, and convince them somehow to pay for us to fly to Florida and go on a 10-day tour in the DNA Energy Drink RV. So it was like, hey man, whatever, free tour, right? We're gonna get out of the house, we'll go to the East Coast, they're gonna book the whole thing, right? We'll play in front of people, it'll be a good time. So we get to the airport over here in Orlando, Adam's gonna pick us up, and he's like, I'm not parking. If you know Adam back in the day, there was no greater penny pincher than Adam. So he rolls up to the airport in his silver van. We gotta wait downstairs all the way on the bottom floor, not the normal pickup area. Dude, it'll be faster. Says to the rest of my band, like, all right, you guys jump in the back. Justin, you're up front with me. We're gonna be best friends. That's when I saw the Kerplunk tattoo that he had. I just told you that story the other day. And the thing was, by this point, we were pretty much already friends. He was emailing all the time. By now he'd discovered the band. He had started to send me YouTube videos that he'd been making, the very, very earliest Adam the Woo stuff. When he started making that, we were already basically pen pals. So I'd be like, dude, don't show anybody, meaning don't show anybody in the punk rock world. Check out these skits I do. fisherman in the fridge, all these weird things. And then when he started filming some other spots, some like abandoned locations, dude, check this out. Boba Land. I mean, we're talking way back, old videos. So he picks us up from the airport, he's talking about the tour and what we're gonna do and how we're gonna have this RV and all the free energy drinks we could possibly ever drink. And then he mentioned, dude, and there's a possibility when we get back, we might be able to go to Disney World, which none of us had ever been to. Thanks to his friend JR, we're gonna get you signed in. I think we're gonna be able to go. This was awesome for me. I mean, mind-blowing for me, because as you may know, I'm a huge Disney fan and I had never been to Disney World at all. So of course, all that was very exciting. But first, we had a whole East Coast tour to do before that could possibly happen. And the first place Adam brought us was right here to downtown St. Cloud, where not only did he live, so we were coming down here to spend the night before we met the guys with the RV and went on the tour and the whole thing, but this is also where the first show of the tour would be, right down here in downtown, beautiful downtown St. Cloud, Florida. And the venue where we would play that first show was right across the street from Adam's apartment, right here. And the name of the place at that time was Big D's. This was Big D's right here in this yellow building. Now half of it is Pop's Waffle and Ice Cream Shop. And the other side, the side that had the stage in it, where we played that show, the first night of the tour, is now a British tea room. There was a cardboard cutout of Queen Elizabeth standing here the other day. Very, very weird, very bizarre. Back then, downtown St. Cloud was not quite the quaint paradise it is now. There were a whole bunch of bars here. In fact, that first night when we played that first show, there was at least 5 or 6 times the cops came out because there were gnarly fights out here in the street. Some related to our show, some related to other bars. But this was Big D's right here. And of course, we're all going, all right, we're in the middle of nowhere in Florida. We're playing at a place called Big D's. We made it, boys. Everybody in our band's going like, who's this Adam the Woo guy, right? Like, he's kind of old. He's 35 and he's in a band still, haven't made it. I was the oldest guy in our band and Adam was 8.5 years older than me, which back when you're, I don't know, 26, 27, that feels like, oh man, he's ancient, right? It's like, anyway, we roll into downtown St. Cloud in Adam's old gray van that he parked right over here. And this is where he brought us. His old 1-bedroom apartment. You got to go through this door downstairs, up the stairs. His old 1-bedroom apartment right here on the corner of Pennsylvania and 11th Street in St. Cloud, Florida. I mean, he had it all going on, right? A $500 a month apartment. He had all these DVDs, a huge movie collection in there. He was working at the famous feed store at the time I met him. And then look at this, right across the street from him, a place to play with your band at Big D's. We spent that first night here with Adam in his tiny little apartment where, by the way, he had one towel for all of us, including him, to share. And he goes, dude, I get the first shower, it's my towel. Almost all the guys in the Scarred were smokers, so you have all the smokers down here sitting on this little wall. And of course, we watched Back to the Future. Then we watched Back to the Future Part 3 for some reason. Teen Wolf, which I think was my first time as an adult ever watching Teen Wolf, all right up there in Adam's tiny little apartment. We were talking about food, like, okay, where you got a grocery store? Where do we get food? And classic Adam's like, dude, I got the spot. So we all crawled out of there well after dark at nighttime, walked around the corner and down the street to the grocery store over here, which had some kind of weird bargain section, like a clear out section, you know, clearance, where they had all the weirdest like dollar store food that we were all looking at like on clearance expired dollar store food, like frozen food. We're like, and Adam's like, dude, look at this Salisbury steak, like 45 cents or whatever. And that's how it started. And this is where it started, hanging out, watching movies, talking about nerd stuff. I started asking him about his videos. I'm like, dude, are you doing anything with that? You know, like you should post that on your band site. No, I don't want all those punk rock people knowing about it and all that stuff. There were a lot of people back then. Like, Adam's like, what's he doing, man? Come on, 35, making YouTube videos and playing in punk rock bands. Come on. Now, a lot of that tour, not even half of it, not even half of what was filmed, but a lot of it is documented on a YouTube video he re-uploaded later. He edited most of the filthiness out. I wouldn't recommend watching it unless you don't mind swears and all that stuff, but it still exists. Some pretty poor footage by today's standards, but there is footage of that. That was in the summer of 2010. We embarked on this journey up the East Coast to some pretty memorable spots. They were memorable to us. We were always like a day or two off Warped Tour. Nobody showed up, but we had the time of our lives, especially me and Adam, running around, making videos, the tour diary videos, talking about YouTube, talking about movies. And even the guys in his own band are like, I don't know, YouTube's like for cat videos, man. Like no one's ever gonna watch that, right? Because we're talking hundreds of views, if that, on any of these videos. And I had had YouTube since 2005. I had done a bunch of videos with my band before my ex-wife quit, and we had a big lineup change and stuff, and then they were all deleted. I had a personal YouTube channel with my ex that's also deleted now, but since 2005, so I was super into YouTube as well, and talking about, man, I used to love making videos. You should make videos too. Like, I don't do that. You know, I'm in a band or whatever. But I was like smitten with it. Like, dude, this is awesome. Like, you're just making punk rock TV. Like, dude, you get it. If you knew Adam, that was like a high compliment. Dude, this guy gets it. That guy gets it, you know? So that's where our friendship started. And of course, we came back here. He took us to Epcot and to Magic Kingdom, my first time ever going to Walt Disney World. And then we flew home, and with most friendships you make in a band while you're traveling around, that would pretty much be it. You know, we had our fun. If I ever get back to Florida, I'll see you when I see you, kind of thing. Not with Adam the Woo. Once he decided he was your friend, that was it. You were friends. He never stopped texting me or calling me and talking about the Back to the Future website, talking about his plans with the videos. And then as he was making these videos, I was just like a huge supporter, right? Check out our friend Adam the Woo's videos. Then I started making YouTube videos with a bunch of my friends. I was never on camera, but always like either writing stuff or usually doing the filming and the editing part of it. And even from back in, like, I would say 2010, end of 2010, 2011, he was always like, dude, you gotta do YouTube videos with me. You should be on camera. I'm going, I was already the front man in a band. I don't want to be on camera, you know. You gotta do it. Come on, man. Somebody's gotta do this with me. Now, on that tour, Adam confessed something to me as we were driving back from the East Coast. Like, dude, I think YouTube is the future. I think one day I might not even do bands anymore. He's like, I'm gonna quit my job and just do YouTube full time. Remember, you could not monetize anything back then. There was no money in it. I'm like, how are you gonna do it, man? I'll probably sell t-shirts, or dude, I'll treat it like a band, you know. I'll sell t-shirts, maybe I can travel around, get out to California, finally see the Back to the Future spots. And then fast forwarding quite a bit, obviously he did do so many amazing videos out here. His big thing was, I've got to reach 1,000 subscribers. I got to monetize, and I've got to reach 1,000 subscribers. Dude, if I reach 1,000 subscribers, the game is on. Do you realize how many people that is? 1,000 people. He did that River Country video. He was texting me that day while he's in River Country, and then sending me video clips from the apartment up there as he's editing that night. And I'm going, dude, this is awesome. I called him, dude, this is awesome. But for the love of all that is holy, do not post this video. They will ban you. I'm telling you. I know people in Burbank, they're gonna ban you. I can remember exactly what he said. He was like, dude, if I get banned from Disney, I'll be a legend. He's like, dude, it'll just make everything even more legendary. Oh, and boy, did it ever make him a legend. In a certain circle, it made him a legend instantly. I remember him sending me the news clipping, because he did the Abandoned Epcot video and all this stuff. And he was on the news with a couple of his buddies going, I don't see any reason to stop. We're gonna keep this going. And of course, the band came. Legendary status achieved. I can't remember the order of everything now, but I remember the abandoned Six Flags in New Orleans, and finally getting that 1,000 subscribers and being monetized. His original Fuel the Woo campaign, the original Adam the Woo, was all fueled by donations, by, you know, support from viewers like you, kind of thing. Where they'd order a t-shirt through PayPal, and he'd have to mail it to them himself from here, from St. Cloud. Totally different world though back. Everyone was like, in his life was like, what are you doing? And by then I was doing YouTube like all the time, like full time all the time with my buddies, editing videos and writing stuff for other people. Again, staying off camera. And Adam, eventually he pulled the same trick as he did with the Scarred, with the band Guttermouth, because he wanted to be their friends. He wanted to tour with Guttermouth. Somehow he manifested that in the old DNA RV, and finally worked his way out to California. I got to take him to all those Back to the Future spots that he had dreamed of seeing since 1985 for the first time. Got to experience that whole thing together. And then, thanks to my friend Shake and Bake, who was a cast member at Disneyland, we signed Adam in to Disneyland for his first ever visit to Disneyland, which, side note, up to that point, we'd always like, don't you care that you're banned from Disney World, like your home park? I don't care, man. You know, I'm a legend now and all this stuff. And that first day we were in Disneyland, it only took about an hour before he looked at me. He's like, I think I made a mistake. But at least he had Disneyland to go to. And it was on that trip that he was really pushing me, because I had all these ideas for travel shows and for a show about Disneyland. And I've talked about this before. I wrote about it in my book. And he was just like, dude, you gotta be on camera. You gotta be on camera. Eventually, he pushed me right into it. I combined the two shows together, called them Random Land, and the rest is history. Except that the rest isn't history. What people don't really know is that at that time I was beginning what would become the worst period of my life. And some of that's documented in vlogs and different things that came along later, and I was going through divorce and then eventually custody stuff and all kinds of problems like that. But I mean, I was on all kinds of psych meds and everything. I was so depressed. I was like going through all these problems. I'd been in my band for years and years and years. And like I said, the record label had folded up. We'd done these tours where nothing happened, and everything that I had been and everything that I had known had all been falling apart. And here's Adam pushing me into doing these YouTube videos and stuff. I started the YouTube videos, and then the divorce came, all this horrible stuff happened to me. And he just never stopped coming back out, never stopped encouraging me. I'm talking every single day, every single video that I made, everything that I did. Dude, it's awesome. Do more of that. It's so freaking cool. I remember at one point after starting Random Land, and they were like little mini documentaries, right? And at that point, he was doing all the abandoned stuff where he'd wiggle the hose spigot, and he wouldn't talk too much. He was like, I think I'm gonna start putting more information in my videos. And then we started this period where we were like, almost like collaborators, you know, like I would be like, oh, because keep in mind, I had been on tour and I had traveled to all these places and done all these filming locations before him. Like when I first met Adam, he was my fan. Then I'm watching his videos, becoming a fan of him. So I'm telling him spots like, dude, you gotta stop by this place, Alamo Village. And he'd be going, dude, you're doing that little thing, but why don't you try this and this? Oh, that's a great idea. Oh, dude, that little joke was perfect. You ever think about this joke or whatever? But more importantly, when I got divorced, Adam came out and goes, dude, where are you gonna land? Like when you get back on your feet, when you're not living in your, where are you gonna move? So I go, dude, I'm gonna move to the Orange Circle, a place I'd already taken him. I'm gonna move to the Orange Circle. Definitely, that's my plan. That's where I'm gonna go. He's like, great. And then he goes to my old roommate, who was still stuck living with my ex, Tyler, my buddy Tyler Evans, who's up in Georgia, grabs him, and they go down the same day and get an apartment in the Orange Circle. And first I'm like, what the heck, dude? Come on, man, that's my spot. And he's like, dude, I've always wanted to live in California. I always wanted to do the whole California thing, do every filming location, do all this stuff. He was banned from Disney World, so he's like, dude, I gotta be close to Disney. He's like, and this way, when you get on your feet, dude, we're gonna be neighbors. We're all gonna live down here. We're gonna create a scene. That was his whole thing, right? Being a big fan of all these pop punk bands and punk rock bands. He looked at it like that, like, we gotta create a little scene. That's why he was always like the Johnny Appleseed of getting people started on YouTube. I'm talking way back. He wanted to have that scene. He wanted to have those collaborators in his life, and he did it. Once again, Adam manifested this thing through hard work. He built the scene he wanted to be part of. But anyway, then he goes, and dude, as long as I'm living here, the door's open, man. You got a place to come. Because I was living like in this little spare bedroom in my parents' house on the ground floor. Nobody lived on the ground floor. So kind of like living in your mom's basement type of thing. I didn't even have a mattress yet. And here's Adam, like, I got an apartment in your favorite spot. I'm gonna move your roommate in with me, your other best friend. I mean, even, sorry, thought I was crying out today. Even back then, he was looking out for me like an older brother, like the older brother I never had. And it was like a safe place for me. He was there coaching me through doing the videos. So many of our little in-jokes and stupid things that would go on in videos throughout the Adam the Woo, the whole joke with that is that he wasn't famous, nobody knew him. Adam the Woo. And of course, when he did get sort of famous, it became a different kind of joke about making him uncomfortable. Look, it's Adam the Woo, you know. And then as I kind of mentioned at the Celebration of Life thing today, and then something happened. Adam thought he had it all. He was finally in California. He was going to his bucket list places. He'd always loved the movies and loved Hollywood and wanted to be close to it. He's kind of back in Disney. And I'm jumping ahead over something important, which I'll get to, but And he went through a dark time. You know, a lady friend had moved in. He thought, this is it. I'm going to be set up here for life. This is my life. And then she left. The rug was pulled out. Tyler, my friend who was his roommate, he needed to move back home. Another rug pulled out. Adam couldn't afford the place on his own. He thought, screw this. I'm out of here. I'm out of California. And he left. Kind of in defeat. Not really bitter, but just determined, fine. I'll go roam on the road. I'll be a wanderer, a nomad, a vagabond. Call me what you will. It's pretty brokenhearted for a long time. But he worked. He had this vision in his mind, a picture in his head. Somehow he was going to make it. He was going to be a legend. Started with abandoned stuff. He worked in the Disney stuff. But he really believed in those daily vlogs, which at first were just him being wacky, running around, being a crazy character. And then over the years, bit by bit, more and more of, I would say, his heart went into those. More and more of the things that he loved. They got calmer. They got more like what he was like off camera. And from that point forward, I mean, a lot of other stuff happened in between. He just rose. And the more of himself that he put into those videos, the more he did his unique thing that was uniquely Adam, the more popular they got, the bigger he got. There were dark periods where he was very uncomfortable with it, where it was pretty painful to be Adam the Woo, where he'd want to quit, talk about retiring, move to the middle of nowhere. Because he figured something out. He figured out that, you know, gosh, I've become this legend. I got followers, I got some money. People know my name. That's just, what is that? That's nothing. Doesn't matter. What am I doing this for? And then something absolutely amazing happened. Rather than quitting and disappearing into the woods or whatever his weird plans, and we all knew he would never do that. Rather than getting sick of everybody and sick of people and sick of the attention and ending the videos, I watched him rise again. And I don't mean now on camera, on his career. I mean as a person. Instead of running away from it, he began to live up to the legend. I mean, he was always a great guy, always wonderful, always soft, all the things. But he lived off camera like he lived on camera. You know what I mean? Like he rose to fill his own shoes in a way. And he was awesome. He'd make videos with people he didn't even like, which used to irritate me and some of his other friends. He would never turn anyone away. There'd be some guy that was a crazy fan that 2 years before that would have just, okay, man, coming on a little too strong. And then he'd just start making videos with those people. Something clicked for me the other day, well, a couple weeks ago. I ran into a guy that was a big fan of Adam's, that later Adam went and made a video with and put him on his channel and all stuff. And I thought, gosh, that's like if Harrison Ford had called me and said, oh, dude, I'll dress like Han Solo, Indiana Jones, whatever you want. I'll be on your channel. I'll put you on my channel. He became like everybody's best friend, everybody's big brother. And all these people who kind of hero worshipped him and looked up to him, he like rose to fulfill that role in a way that I never could. I'm not a people person like that. And it's funny because recently Adam talked about his social anxiety and things. I think that more just came with the flood of just the bigger he got, the more there was and the more he felt awkward. Because you know what? He didn't like repeating the same conversation over and over again. So if he met someone, it's like, oh, nice to meet you. And what do you do? And then the next person would repeat the same conversation. He felt inauthentic having that same conversation over and over and over again. So then he felt awkward, like he didn't have enough to give them or something. That was a real struggle. But he was always like a people person, right? Like in the old van days, he lived in his van. He just put it out there. Hey, I'm coming through, you know, wherever. Kentucky. Anybody got a place to crash? You hang out with someone, make a video with them. He had a lot of fears, but he was also fearless. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with all that. I'm just proud of him. I was always proud of him. And then it was always weird because you're his friend from a long time. So it was like, if you were close to Adam, it was like, don't talk about me. Don't talk about me as a person kind of thing, behind the scenes. And he hated anyone kind of like not doing their own thing, right? Do your own thing. But he would encourage people. He'd be there for you. All of us are talking about how like we can't, when did he have the time? Because I've been with him for 24 hours a day, multiple days in a row. When did he have the time to watch all his friends' videos, Micah, me, whoever, and like send helpful advice and just always be looking out for you? If he saw your numbers going down or something, he's like, dude, let's collab on something. And as he got bigger and more popular, he met people who were bigger and more popular. He could have left me behind. He could have left anybody behind. But whether it was the smallest guy that he met who was just his fan, who they do a hot dog review together or something, or somebody he didn't even really particularly care for off camera that much, or me, one of his friends that's been a friend for a long time, he never left anyone behind. And it's one of those things you don't appreciate until somebody's gone, but like you could text him, if you had any problem, he would be there for me. And then it all started here, right here, in this tiny little one-bedroom apartment. He's working at this feed store. He was miserable. Took me over there while he still worked there, just to show me. He's loading up bales of hay on people's cars, the spiders falling in the Florida heat and the whole thing. Dude, I'm gonna quit my job one day. I live in a van. And he did. He lived in my driveway for a long time. That's why the other day, or one of these videos, I said, like, we came from nothing. We were nobody together, nothing. And I watched him go from nothing to something, always just whatever would work. You know, abandoned, whatever would work, whatever he thought people would click on. That's how it started. And passion projects in there too. But it turned into something where, and don't get me wrong, he had a lot of inspirations from people, and there were a lot of people that he took advice from and stuff too, but he eventually learned to take his own personality, his own thing, his own weird way of looking at things, because he was very calm off camera. Like the early videos seem all wacky and crazy, and he would get like that. He'd get ramped up. He's the funniest guy in the room all the time. But that calm, peaceful, quiet part of him that he always had became part of the show. And you would think, like, that's not going to work. But it did. And hundreds of thousands of people connected with that. Anyway, I'm just so proud of him. I'm just so proud of him. And we compare notes still, all the way till the end. Dude, you're doing a Route 66 thing? Dude, I'm gonna go on Route 66 later. Dude, you're gonna go do this road? Hey, if you're on that trip, go to this place. When I kind of mentioned, like, he started out as my fan from my website or my band or whatever, and I had done more than him, right? Haha, yes, Adam. I, the worldly wise. And it was so fast that he surpassed me. Because Adam was always on a mission, and he never slacked. That is the hardest working person I've ever known. Everybody wants to say all the nice things about you and your dad and make you into a saint. Adam was no saint. He had weaknesses, and he had character flaws like any of us do. But he was the hardest working person I have ever known. And you get trolls and dumb people who don't know anything. Oh, I'd like to go around and play at Disney all day for a job. They have no idea what he sacrificed, how hard he worked. He had to have everybody in his life. You know, his own family worried about him. Like, what are you doing? You know, you're in your 30s, don't you want to keep your job and your roof over your head? You know, everybody in your life from the old bands, you're not gonna play in bands? I've lived through this. You're not gonna play in bands, so you're just gonna be nothing? We walked the same path together for a long time. And I watched him succeed because he worked harder than anybody else. And ultimately, what really started to make him go is that all that other stuff fell away, and he just was him. On camera, there he is. Here's what I'm doing. Whenever we try to get him to do something he didn't want to do, he goes, dude, I quit my job for a reason. Didn't want to do anything he didn't want to do. If we were having a party and he felt like going, he'd go. We were having a party for him, and he didn't feel like going. I'm not doing that. He was stubborn. He was annoying. He had to one-up everybody. But in like a lovable big brother way. I don't know. Just the best friend I ever had. Anyway, that's enough of downtown St. Cloud, which, by the way, he loved. I know there's videos of him walking around doing a lot of St. Cloud stuff. Believe it or not, I have never seen them because I didn't watch all of his videos. We were friends, you know. I'm grateful that I've got many years worth of videos to watch when I miss him. But he loved this place. I just tell you, for being here in person with him, that first night I ever knew him, he's walking us around, showing us every mural, every whole old historic building. 2000 Maniacs was filmed here in the Waterboy, and telling us punk rock stories, shows he'd seen and everything else. You know, I was kind of talking about how he never left a friend behind and all that stuff. He would never stop sending me pictures of Big D's, or when Big D's closed, or when Big D's was getting repainted, or what new business was coming into Big D's. He'd send me pictures of the apartment every time. Yeah, there's the old place. That thing, that Adam the Woo nostalgia, I mean, that's what made us friends. That was the connection. That nostalgia for place and time and wanting a connection to, you know, your imagination when it came to movies or something like that, and filming locations, or Disney, right? That's a celebration of creativity and imagination, and as his uncle was saying today. But also just that nostalgia for the old times, the old places, even when they weren't that long ago. That was real. All of that was real. And I wish he was here to walk us around one more time. Show us every mural and every old fire station, the old train station. It's just a place he loved. And now he's laid to rest here, but it's fitting. He has become the king of St. Cloud, that's for sure. Just noticing this right here. Buy any 2 coffees, and there's no deal. Just buy 2 coffees. Anyway, like I said, I'm leaving tomorrow, and this is the last video I'm gonna make here in Florida. Just talking about Adam, and so I have a few more stories to tell. And then I'll tell you about me, and then I'll talk about what happens from here on out. This is where it began. MCO, Orlando International Airport, and then downtown St. Cloud on a 10-day tour that will live in infamy. Probably the worst punk rock tour of all time. That became like the greatest friendship I ever had. It all started in the same place that all his videos started, right there. A guy in his mid-30s living in a little 1-bedroom apartment, working at a feed store, playing in punk rock bands on the weekends, covered in tattoos. We always used to make the same joke, and we weren't joking. We're losers. But he had a vision. And he worked hard and went from that little apartment upstairs on the corner over there out to the world. It all started right there. It's funny, the first time I came here, I was like, this is the middle of nowhere. Adam understood something that I learned later, which is that everywhere is somebody's everywhere. You know what I mean? Anyway, you know, I feel very blessed now, like, especially now, I was able to be with Adam. His first time seeing those Back to the Future spots, that was like his whole bucket list from childhood. His first time ever going to Disneyland. The first several times, actually. And of course, he took me on my very first trip ever to Walt Disney World in 2010 at the end of that tour, Magic Kingdom and Epcot. I think the thing I'll always cherish most, my favorite memories. Oh, wait a minute, side note, there's the feed store. There's the feed store. There's the feed store right there. Him and I would always, you know, whenever anything frustrating happened or something, try to remind ourselves, like, look how far we've come, kind of thing. It'd be like, dude, we're a long way from Big D's. And when he bought that house in Celebration, I was like, dude, come a long way from the feed store. Anyway, I think some of my favorite memories ever are when Adam got unbanned from Walt Disney World. Of course, he was banned for he was trespassed from the property, couldn't even go on property. And then we were in California together. He wanted to keep it top secret. He goes, dude, you gotta meet me right now. I knew something big was happening. I'm unbanned. We're booking a plane Monday or whatever day. We didn't even tell his friend Jay Cody, who picked us up like 4 in the morning or something to go to the airport. Didn't even tell him where we were going until we got to the airport and swore him to secrecy. Flew here to Florida. First things first, came straight to his mom's house. Adam loved his mom, man. Loved his mom. So that's the first person he wanted to tell, because I'm unbanned from Disney. Me and my friend Justin here, we're going to the parks. And of course, it's summer, so she looks at us, she goes, y'all going to Disney? In this weather? You're gonna die. And keep in mind, I've been doing Random Land for a couple years now, and everyone was like, when are you gonna go to Disney World? When are you gonna do Disney World history? But I would not go as long as Adam was banned, right? I was like, I'm not going unless you're unbanned, dude. So he gets unbanned, and then it was on. So my first trip to all 4 parks. I'm sure there's video. I know he did at least 2 main channel videos, and then there were vlogs. At the time we were doing Periscopes, there were live streams. I think I was using Snapchat. There were Snapchat stories before Instagram had them. We flew here and split a rental car that I think cost 20 bucks a day or something like that. And we also split a cheap hotel room up here, right on 192, which we took all the way between St. Cloud back to over near Disney, because Adam was much too penny pinchy to pay for tolls back then. We were too poor. Wait a minute, if I'm seeing the feed store, I'm going the wrong way. And it's another one of those places that when he moved back to Florida, every time he passed it, he would take a picture and send it to me. Dude, remember when we split this $25 a night hotel together? So we'll just head over there now, I guess. Well, it took me a lot longer to get over here than I was expecting, but this is it. The Saralago Hotel and Suites. And I checked, it wasn't 25 bucks a night. It was $35 a night, which we split. You can see now the Saralago is abandoned over here off 192, right next door to Old Town, basically just across the road from Machine Gun World and all that good Orlando stuff. This is where we stayed when Adam was unbanned from Walt Disney World, with the poolside tiki bar, the fair rent-a-car, and the food court. Adam was sending me pictures of this place when it closed down, like, dude, the Saralago is no more. By the way, we didn't know how to pronounce this when we came here, and we were doing a thing where we kept quoting Phil Hartman in all these Phil Hartman movies, especially So I Married an Axe Murderer, so we called it the Saragaglio. And it doesn't look like it's long for this earth, although they are doing construction in there. And look at this. That's where we stayed, in that back building over there, right against the dead end. Upstairs, like 1 or 2 rooms in. I think maybe 1 room in. That was the secret spot. Dude, don't post any pictures from here. Dude, I gotcha. There it is, that's where we stayed. It wasn't the Ritz. I actually moved myself to a hotel right here off 192, which is, I think the Saragaglio, it was nicer, definitely nicer than where I'm staying tonight, but I kind of did that on purpose, right? A little more motivation to peel the Band-Aid off and get out of here. We spent those days, and I think the video Adam put up was called Adam the Woo Returns to Magic Kingdom, the main video. He was like over the moon, like stoked. We both bought passes that were both coasts. You could do that back then. It was like the beginning of a new era, summer 2015. And Adam also did something when we came back here. He did the parks, and after everybody knew he was back, he wanted to do a meetup. Because back then, we're not talking Adam the Woo, the legend, we're talking Adam the Woo. Yeah, he's got some YouTube videos. I don't know how many subscribers back then. And we decided impromptu to put that on Periscope. It's like a live streaming app, and Instagram. Just up here down 192, a little ways further. Right over here at the Giant Wizard, AKA the Magic Castle gift shop. Not because it was Adam's favorite place or anything like that, just because we figured it was the easiest place to find, not remembering, well, me, what did I know back then? Adam not remembering that there are 2 Giant Wizards, and this one was the east one, so there were indeed some people who went to the Western Wizard. I remember it was all cloudy and rainy, and I think we timed it so that the gift shop would be closed and they wouldn't be mad, but I can kind of remember huddling over here under the wizard's beard and just trying to stay out of the rain, because Adam, of course, and I stayed for every single person. And there's a little bit of a crowd, right? The parking lot was full. but nothing like you would see later on when Adam did some of the other meetups just a year or two later that decided him on never doing them again. Crazy, man. I just remember right here, just being on the benches, talking to people, and hiding under the beard. The gift shop was definitely closed while we were here, but I have a weird, vague memory that people had showed up kind of early and said that the gift shop people inside were not very happy with the crowd. I don't even know if there's video of that. I don't know if that was Periscope that Adam was using when we were here, or he did a daily woo. Might have been a daily woo. Anyway, it's helped being here long enough that I've already come here once or twice and gone to all these spots and looked at them and then had a big weep and a cry. We had so many adventures, and I could think of just so many that stand out. I mean, the eclipse and Napoleon Dynamite, that was a crazy couple days just because of the conversations we had in old Large Marge there. But this is way back in the day. He still had the gray van out in California. This was like his triumphal return back to Disney World, which again changed his life and changed mine. And this is where we did it, Adam's first Florida meetup, unbanned from Disney World. His first ever meetup, somebody reminded me when I posted an Instagram picture of this the other day, it was over there at Old Town, down 192, and there was like maybe 10 or 15 people. I think Micah was with them. World of Micah. It's just crazy, you know. By the way, I'm not doing all this for you, or just for you. I'm glad you're here tagging along, but this is the deal with the last day here, is I'm kind of trying to take a tour of all these spots. I'm trying to do my crying off camera. But I knew I had to pull the Band-Aid off all these spots while I was here this time, or I would never come to them again, you know. And I come to Florida all the time, so. Anyway, Archie blows, the Wizard. I actually need to go inside the Wizard real quick. And I mean, Adam had so many different favorites, right? Orange World down the street. He loved 192. Every gift shop and every weird spot was iconic to him. But this one will be extra iconic to me forever just because of that meetup. It was definitely a memory to treasure. So I gotta go grab something inside of here. I don't remember them being too camera friendly. We'll see. Well, I did not find what I was looking for. You can buy an alligator head or a shark in a jar, but of all things, they don't have any blankets. No like little knockoff Disney blankets or anything. So I guess the quest will continue later on. Look, this tour could go on forever. Every spot, everywhere around here for 100 miles has got an Adam the Woo story, an Adam the Woo memory, or an Adam the Woo video. But I just wanted to share just some of these memories. We're not done yet. I know it seems random. The giant wizard, that was just like such a pivotal moment for him and for me. And I just feel blessed and honored to have been there and see him freaking pumped, just stoked. And he pretty much never stopped coming to Disney World for the rest of his life. Then even moved across the street over yonder in Celebration. It's a long way from the Seraglio. Before I leave here, we have to make another stop. We've got to go to Magic Kingdom. And when we get there, I will tell you what I'm gonna do and what I'm thinking as far as the future. Before I can do that though, just gotta drop off some stuff at the hotel because I do have a few things of Adam's for myself and for friends. I'm not gonna show you guys that stuff, but I don't want to leave it in the car in a parking lot, you know? So I'm gonna drop that stuff off, get some ice for the cooler, and I'll be right back.
During our journey, sudden stops and braking may occur. If a personal belonging falls from the tram, please remain seated and inform the nearest cast member at the next stop. Weapons of any kind, including firearms and knives, as well as selfie sticks, are prohibited. If you have any of these items, please return them to your vehicle now. Thank you, and welcome aboard.
We had a couple of quiet moments there. That's because I edited out the crying for your convenience and pleasure, back at TTC. I know some of you got to be thinking like, so big deal, you know, Adam the Woo is the first person who ever brought you to Disney World. You got to keep in mind, if that's all he ever did, I would have been so grateful to him for the rest of my life. At that time of my life, there was absolutely no way. I never thought there'd be any way I would ever get to come to Walt Disney World. There's no way I could have afforded it, and yes, I know. There goes the monorail. Oof. Not only did he bring me here the first time, I was like committed, like I'm not going back as long as you're banned. So when he got unbanned, it's almost like I got unbanned. Like we're in it together. That first day we parked at Epcot, took the monorail over here, switched to the ferry boat, and this is where I got my first ever glimpse of the Magic Kingdom. It's really weird, man. It's really weird. Sometimes I'll be crying. It's really weird, man. Sometimes I'll be crying. Sometimes I just go blank. Really strange. Super strange. It's so strange. I mean, I know we had that kind of church celebration of life for him today, so I'm sort of cried out. I'll be numb 1 second, and then I'll get in the car and be driving, and then I'll just start bawling. And then I'm not gonna lie, like sometimes I get angry. I'm not perfect. I think the same things other people think. I get upset, I get angry, like, how is this fair, you know? But life isn't fair. You're waiting around for things to be fair. You're gonna be waiting a long time. But I get angry too. I get angry that he's not here, angry that he's cut off in his prime. All the things. And then I go numb for a while. And then sometimes I'm just in total disbelief. It does not feel real. And the confusing and frustrating part of this is, you know, you've heard of the stages of grief, but they don't go in order. You know, you're bouncing around like a pinball machine, back and forth, anger, denial, crying and crying. I mean, every day gets a little easier to breathe, easier to do stuff, one foot in front of the other. This is not like the movies where it seems all romantic and the sad music plays. Like, this sucks. That's part of why I gotta leave Florida, is what just happened right there. I came in the gate, somebody hugged me, and I started crying on the planter for 5 minutes. I thought it was good. I thought we were having a good time today. You know, it's just, Anyway, that's why we're here. That's why we're here, running around, doing our little memory lane tour. Because I gotta go. I cannot stay sitting in Florida like this, in all the places that I spent with my friend, all that time. I know it's gonna be a while, and I know it's gonna be a long process, but I'm ready for stage 3, like getting out of here. Oh, look at that. The Christmas tree is gone. It was here last night. Christmas is finally over. It's a Mark Twain quote I'm butchering, that it's amazing that a man could take a thunderbolt like that all at once and still live. That's sort of how this has felt like. Particularly the first day I came in to look at Magic Kingdom with Allie. That was a hard day. I knew I had to do it. I knew I had to pull the Band-Aid off sometime, but that was rough. I told her that day, I was like, I never thought I'd just be crying my way through the Magic Kingdom to go get some food. That was bad. A little bit easier now. Easier to kind of stuff it down, especially around people, or if I get talking to people. It's easier to just like remember the good times, push down everything else, but it all just comes back around again. Anyway, before I lose my voice completely, here's the plan, or at least a rough outline of a plan, or the closest thing that I've got to a plan. Here's what I'm aiming for. I have got to get out of Central Florida. I've been here since the day before New Year's Eve. I've done everything that I could have done. I tried to be as helpful as I possibly could to Adam's friends and family, and now there's just nothing left for any of us to do really, except the parts that that no one can help with, like the parts you have to walk through alone. So I switched rental cars from a dinky little thing to an SUV. I have packed my stuff. I have added the few things of Adam's I'm taking back with me. Bought a cooler, some Ziploc bags, procured some supplies. So that's why memory lane was so important today, because tomorrow I go back to the graveyard, say what I need to say, and then I start driving north. Sorry, I know I sound weird today. I'm just been losing my voice. Been a lot of talking last couple days, wrapping things up. I am not heading straight home. First, I'm heading up into Georgia to see my friend Tyler Evans. That would be classic Tyler, original recipe, the original Random Land sidekick, and he was a longtime roommate of Adam's in Southern California. Tyler's been waiting for a kidney transplant for a long time. He hasn't been doing that well. It's a long story, but the long and the short of it is I told him, like, dude, in light of everything that's going on, like, I got to put eyes on you, man. We have not been in the same room together for 10 years, so I know you're gonna be okay. I know everything's gonna be fine, but we gotta have some talks, you know? And from there, I gotta head home to California. What happens in between? I guess we see where the wind takes me. The main thing is that I knew if I flew home, got into my bedroom, got into my house, in my comfort zone, I would just break. I'll just break, I'll go insane. I'll have to do the whole grieving all over again. Someone in Adam's family today is like, you gotta get back to work. I said, I know. I'm leaving tomorrow. I gotta get back to it. So I don't want you to keep going. I know. So the plan is, force myself into a car, into a situation where I have to get up every day and do something. I mean, if I can't handle it, and all I want to do is drive that day, fine, that's what I'll do. And if I can stop and film some interesting stuff and do my crying in between stops, and that's what I'll do. I've never been very good at making videos with my brain or planning them out. They always come from my gut, my heart, whatever you want to call it. So here's the deal. If I'm out there and I feel like I need to talk about it, then that's what I'm going to do. If I feel like I need to keep that to myself and cry, and then I don't know what's going to happen, basically. But this is just what I do. This is what I've been doing since I was 16 years old. Whether on tour or traveling around from Random Land, and it's always been my kind of go-to place is get out on the road and clear my head, especially alone after getting divorced. And then before Allie moved in with me, for making any big life decisions, I know I need like a long vision quest. You know, I got to go walk about, or whatever you want to say. I'm saying all this because I know some of you have jumped on board lately to get updates about things. I will have updates about public memorial that's going on in California down the road. But I just want to remind everybody, like, we were friends, we were close, we did collaborate on a lot of stuff. We do have very similar interests in things, but I'm not Adam. Nobody can be Adam except for him. And nobody should even try. And this next round of adventures might not be the most coherent filmmaking that I've ever done. I have no idea what's gonna happen. It's just gonna be a little old me. But if you want to stick around, you are more than welcome to come on the adventure, and I'm more than happy to have you on board. Anyway, I think that's it. Between what you've seen, the front of the castle and then the back of the castle, was about an hour and a half of crying in there, which I thought I was done with for the day, and I feel it coming back, so I think I'm gonna let you guys go. I think I'm gonna walk around and just do some thinking, some remembering. Hopefully not any more crying. I don't understand how it's physically possible to cry for so long every day and not lose like all your moisture. Although actually I probably need to drink some water. It's not normal. Nothing about this is normal. There's no right or wrong way how to do anything. I mean, no matter what I do, I'm gonna get criticized. If I said nothing about my friend, people would be going, what the heck is wrong with you? If I talk about him too much, people are gonna go, oh, what are you doing there? Making all your content about your friend? All I can do is try to get up, move forward, and do what feels right. So that's why today I just wanted to share some memories, go down memory lane a little bit, walk around, and tomorrow I say goodbye and move forward. Well, goodbye to his body's final resting place, because that's not him in there. He's okay. I wish I could call him and just talk to him for 5 more minutes and tell him I love you. So do me a favor, if you really want to help me, help yourself, pick up the phone and call somebody that matters to you and just tell them I love you. You can just text him. I don't like calls either. Just text him, I love you. That's it. Not everybody's comfortable answering messages like that, so don't expect an answer. But just send that message. Send that message to somebody who matters to you. Who cares if it makes it weird? All right, I'm actually losing my voice now. I don't know what tomorrow will bring, what we'll be talking about or not talking about, where we'll be ending up. But like I said, if you're willing to put up with me, I'd love to have you on board, and I'll do my best, guys. Until next time, thanks for listening. Go home, sleep well.
Hey, hey, why right there? Don't do that.